Not a fan of that. Too much volume, too many exercises, and some pretty poor exercises selected at that. Shockingly, LeanBeefPatty's videos never actually do that well for views when I put them on my channel. But sadly, I actually like talking about her workouts and her training. They actually give quite good examples usually of movement selection, program structuring, and things along those lines that actually provide really good talking points regarding how you might be able to do things slightly better or slightly differently. And that's kind of what we're doing today. Back workout and back stories. We don't care about the stories, we don't care about the interesting, that's why you're watching me, because you don't care about interesting, we care about the back workout. Before we do so, if at any point throughout this entire video you actually just even tolerate the video, not even learn something from the video, just tolerate it, then I would very much appreciate it if you did subscribe to the channel, as it helps the channel out a lot and it helps me out a lot. But again, only if you tolerate me. It's actually gonna be quite a quick video considering there aren't many exercises in her workout, which I love. That's good. Starting off with the rear delt fly. To be honest, whether you do this bilaterally, so both hands at the same time, or unilaterally, one arm at a time, I like this a lot. I like going from a slightly higher position and coming down at a bit of an angle. I look for about 45 degrees at the armpit. It's not that deep, it's just preference. What movement or what muscle group you start with is completely up to you. It ultimately comes down to what's your weakness. So you should order your exercises in order of priority. So if your rear delts are your biggest weakness and they are the thing you want to focus the most time and effort and energy into growing, it's probably best to do them first, like LeanBeefPatty is doing here. If they're maybe a strong point, you probably do them last. If you aren't too sure and you've got other priorities, you can put them elsewhere. And obviously with rear delts, we are talking about here, right here, that good juicy bump there, that's a rear delt. So immediately you've got a bit of a tickle here. Is that this is listed as a single arm row. You could call it a single arm pull down. The movement itself is fantastic, I love it. But what I don't love is the setup. And the setup in that regard is how she is essentially kneeling down. When doing a movement like this, when you are essentially adopting this kneeling position, stability is greatly impacted. Therefore, stability could actually hinder your ability to take the movement to failure, which in turn limits the stimulus the target muscles are going to be experiencing. If you increase stability, you can hopefully increase the stimulus that the muscles are experiencing, and also stability now not being a weakness or a limiting factor. How to increase stability is so simple. Whack the cable height up, grab a bench and sit on it. At some point when you're lifting, the weight is going to throw you around a bit when you have a bench that you can kind of plant and lean against. What you want to focus on here is the elbow to the hip. We like that elbow to the hip. She's got a slight bit of rotation, which I assume she's trying to lengthen a bit more and then shorten with that lateral flexion there. You can do if you want, it's completely up to you. It's not going to be make or break. The big thing there is just elbow to the hip. And in doing so, if you lean back slightly, you could potentially even reduce how much the arm is bending, which means you're reducing how much the biceps are working, because that might be a limiting factor for you as well. But again, this is very much going to be a lat bias movement, as you can tell from obviously the plane of motion and the fact that the arm is very close to the body. Wide grip lat pull down, bloody fantastic. One of my favorite movements. So you see how we've gone from like a sagittal plane movement where we're going like this in front of us down, boom, to a frontal plane movement where we're out to the side like so. That's good, because although both of these movements do target the lats, they target them in a slightly different plane of motion. So we've got lats like this, and we've got lats like this. Genuinely, for the lats, that's all I do in a back workout. A single arm row or pull down variation like this, and a wide grip lat pull down or pull up, banging, laughing. Again, with the pull down, this first half, you are going to heavily bring in the upper back, and then the lats really take over when you go to the second half, where the elbow starts getting closer to the body, where we get high levels of adduction, and that upper arm is now getting closer and more tucked to the body. We like that. I would say, if you're doing a pulling motion, use straps. You see how she's not using straps here? Use straps. The last thing you want is your grip to give out before your back does, especially if you're actually looking at working your back effectively. You are just going to limit the stimulus your back can experience due to the grip being a limiting factor. And we're not trying to work our grip here, we're trying to work our back. Seated bicep curl like this, fantastic. When people do like incline bicep curls, half the time they just whack the seat way back and they're basically lying down. That just sounds like a recipe for a shoulder problem if you ask me. This is banging, this is beautiful. I love to see it. Supinated, twisting, alternating, both at the same time, your choice. That is banging. I really appreciate it. What I would say is you'll notice one thing, she doesn't go the whole way up. A lot of times when people are bicep curling, they'll get to the top and they'll keep going. And at that point, the wrist is stacked above the elbows and tension has basically come off the biceps. Cut the ROM slightly, keep the tension on the biceps, stops you resting between at the top. Very quickly, down below, you've got the link to a few things. You've got the link to apply to work with myself on a one-to-one coaching basis where I can coach you online wherever you are in the world and whatever your goals may be. You've also got the link to the tfnl group coaching, which for less than $1 a day, you get a program written by me and conversation with me if you want it through Train Heroic, and that's for either at home or at the gym. And you've also got the TFNL workout guides, which are bloody fantastic guides that not only tell you what to do, they show you how to do it, and they tell you why you're doing it as well. All of those things are linked down below in the description, so have a gander if you fancy it. I mean, spider kills, yeah, these are great. I'd kind of favour more of like a preacher kill variation myself, but these are fine, these are fantastic, provided you can get in them comfortably. Whenever I get in them, I end up trying to grab the dumbbells and falling on my face, and if I try and reach the dumbbells below me, I can't reach it, and I'm waddling all over the place. It's just a mess. I don't like them just because I'm a bit of a blob trying to get into them, but I'm sure they're fine, and if you like them, that's fantastic. But the thing is, you'll see with all these movements selected, none of them have been particularly complicated. Volume, if you're doing 2 bicep movements in a day, honestly, I'd probably say 2 sets of each is probably plenty, maybe even too much, but let's say 2 sets of each is bloody fantastic. You don't need to do a lot of work for the biceps. You don't need to do a lot of work for a lot of muscles. You're probably doing a lot more than you need to, but consider how small the biceps are. Honestly, 2 sets of biceps, 2 exercises, you're probably okay. And then if you're not okay, you can always do more from there. One of my favorite ab movements, I like the cable crunch. And the one thing you'll notice here, which is very important, hips are staying in one place. I like that, I respect that. Look at the back. So this is a movement where a neutral spine and a flat back is exactly what we don't want. We're trying to work the abs by contracting the abdominal region and going through spinal flexion, so reducing the distance between the sternum and the pelvis. To do that, we need to round. We want to round this back as much as possible, and this is fantastic because she's crunching the abs here. Honestly, movement selection, every single one of those movements, I'd say is actually pretty banging movement. How she structured it is actually pretty banging as well. What I would do personally, if I had to change something, I would take away one movement and replace it with another. I might not do abs, to be honest. I might do abs on like another day, but you can if you want to. But I'd probably remove the spider curl for no other reason than just of my preferences and what I need to work on for my physique. And I'd probably swap it with another back movement where I do like a high row, like a wide grip cable row, where I'm kind of flaring it like 60 to 90 degrees. So a really high to the chest row. But outside of that, I keep everything the same. I'd probably go something like single arm pull down first. Then I'd probably go wide grip lat pull downs. Then I go reverse flies for the old rear delts. And then I go to a wide grip row where I'm doing like a wide grip low row machine, chest supported row, something along those lines, something where my elbows are very high. So we go from sagittal plane, frontal plane, 45 degree arm angle, and then 60 to 90 degree arm angle. Banging, we've nailed everything. Mid back, upper back, lats, fantastic. Then I jump onto the seated bicep curl, so I've got my bicep movement in there. I might do both bicep curls if I binned off the ab movement, or I might do one of the bicep curls and an ab movement. Boom, banging, that's plenty. Do that a couple of times a week, more than enough, you're bloody laughing. Probably one of my favorite workouts from LeanBeefPatty, and generally the only workouts I've probably seen online where there's very little I would actually change, and the changes I'm making, not because I think the movements are bad, but because for my body and my physique goals, I just need to make a few alterations. Bloody fantastic. I love that. Don't get me wrong, there have been instances in the time where I've seen LeanBeefPatty's workouts and I've been like, not a fan of that. Too much volume, too many exercises, and some pretty poor exercises selected at that. But that's not the case here. Smashed it, big fan. Just like all my videos, that is simply my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below. So until the next one, thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my waffle and Hello Kitty t-shirt that you can't really see right now. And thank you for tolerating the video.